Good afternoon, fellow Trekkies. This is Josh Pritchett coming to you live from Movers and Shakers Unlimited with the Lowdown on Lower Decks. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this Saturday evening as we review this week's episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, Episode 5, Starbase 80. Now, if that name sounds familiar to you, it has been the long time referred to Starbase. Mariner was briefly sentenced there, sentence being the correct word, because it is the low point of anyone's career to ever get stuck on Starbase 80 because, well, let's just say it's cursed. It's cursed. Oh my goodness, is it cursed? So, this week we are going to unpack and go over why Starbase 80 is cursed as we talk about the episode. And right now I am flying solo because my partner in crime, Mr. Chris Babone, has not been able to get to the studio just yet. So I kind of need to go ahead and do the episode. So hopefully Chris will jump in and join us. So quick sum up. The Cerritos has just completed a survey of a water planet, and after completing that, they suddenly are heading to their next assignment at warp speed when suddenly something knocks them out of warp. Their nav system is fried, and the only place that they can get help is Starbase 80, which does not make Mariner particularly happy because she was sentenced there for a brief period of time before resigning her commission. And apparently, even that brief moment was enough to leave traumatic marks on her psyche. So they limp to Starbase 80 at impulse drive. And when they get there, they have to use the decontamination gel that we saw way back on Star Trek Enterprise. As many of you know, the transporter systems on a starship or star base generally work as a decontamination chamber. But of course, before transporters were widely used, the away teams had to use a decon gel when they were coming back from their ship. Well, so they have to use the gel, and when they get on board, Mariner is like Roddy McDowell in the film Haunting of Hell House. If anybody's very familiar with that, McDowell's character was somebody that had survived a particularly violent haunted house. Well, Mariner's kind of acting the same way. She's very skittish. She's hugging the walls because she's afraid the floor is going to fall off from underneath her. Um, and then eventually they meet the station's diplomatic officer. And this character is dressed in an Enterprise era blue jumpsuit uniform and seems to be overly happy for somebody that's assigned to the dankest part of Starfleet. So Captain Freeman and the first officer go looking for the chief engineer to help them install the new nav system, while Mariner and and the rest of the crew go to try to help out with repairs and upgrades to Starbase 80. They get down to the engine room, and apparently the deck plating which is how the gravity works on a starship, isn't working very well. It's malfunctioning. Meanwhile, Captain Freeman and Commander Hansen are just doing a goose chase throughout the station trying to find the chief engineer, and along the way they keep trying to make all these system upgrades to try to make the system work better. But eventually crew members start acting like zombies. Now, of course, Mariner believes it's the curse of Starbase 80 has come to life and is, trying to drag down the Cerritos crew. But eventually she comes to find out that it isn't Starbase 80. It's something that the Cerritos brought over from the water planet, and apparently it's an algae, sentient algae life form that has affected the dolphin navigators of the Cerritos and has been taking possession of the Cerritos crew and making them act like space zombies. So eventually, when they figured this out, they managed to get the space algae out of the dolphins and decontaminate the whole situation. Everything is fine, and Mariner comes away with like a new appreciation because, as the diplomatic officer basically says about Starbase 80, this is not the end of the line. It doesn't have to be the end of the line. It's where people go to turn their careers around, and it's their second chance in Starfleet to try to turn things around. And Mariner comes away with a new appreciation of Starbase 80's mission. So, Chris has not arrived yet, but I'm just going to go ahead and quickly do the good, the bad, and the Gorn. And if Chris gets here, we can just jump in. So, one thing I really liked about the episode, Starbase 80 resembled the Watchtower configuration of starbases, which, if you're a fan of Star Trek novelizations, there was a starbase like this in a series of novels that was kind of set out on the edge of Federation space. So it looks more like that. It's very old, obviously, and of course the design looks like the TOS with wall-mounted communicators and uh, the whole TOS aesthetic and everything. It's quite fun. Um, the there's a joke about they have a bunch of old uniforms for sale and their version of the promenade, which they call the arcade, and apparently they are used uniforms because everybody who wore those uniforms has died. So I imagine there's a lot of red shirts in that store. Um, and the plucky attitude of the diplomatic officer is really quite exciting. It's actually quite likable. Um, so all in all, yeah, it is kind of a rundown place, but at the same time, you could tell that there's a real effort to try to keep that Starfleet sense of awe and um, you know optimism about things going. So only thing I can't say I didn't like about it was I wish they would have aired this episode on Halloween because, dude, space zombies. It's 2-3 weeks after Halloween now, and then we missed out on having an episode about space zombies. Massive disappointment. I do like the haunted spaceship aesthetic of this episode. It's really, really a lot of fun. And I think we've been kind of on this journey with Mariner as she's, we're trying to wrap up things with everybody's story arcs, but you know, in this episode, she's obviously becoming a lot more sociable and friendly. Um, oh, okay. It looks like Chris is not going to be able to join us because of a prior engagement. So, okay, folks. Well, we'll get his thoughts on this next week, along with next week's episode. But if anybody would like to share their thoughts, just join us here and jump in anytime, and we'll be happy to look. And I'm going to see. Sorry. Okay, so I was just checking to see if we've had any comments, but if not, that's okay. You can reach out to us here or on our YouTube channel and share some comments, and we'll try to get them on next week. Some thoughts. We always love to hear from our viewers. Um, Onto the Gorn section and thoughts and theories. Like I said, I really like the idea of a haunted starbase, maybe a kind of place where we, maybe the dregs of Starfleet end up, but it's clear that, like I was saying about the diplomatic officer, and I'm sorry I'm forgetting the character's name. I meant to look that up, but it's kind of rushed for time. She wants to turn it into a kind of place where everybody turns their career around. And okay, this doesn't have to be the end. It might feel like purgatory. It might be that you really screwed up, but this doesn't have to be how your career ends. It might just hey, you've screwed up. but there's always a chance to get out of it. It's kind of like if you've ever seen um, the movie 12 O'clock High. Gregory Peck is this Army Air Corps general. It's not the Air Force. This is when the Air Force was still part of the Army. It was called the Army Air Corps. He is this commander, and he's been sent to turn this one bomber wing around. And he has this one plane called the Leper Colony, where all the units screw ups go and have to, be retrained and uh, you know, once they've served there for a certain time and have gotten their act together, they have to go. They can go back to another aircraft. Um, so in that way, I guess maybe Starbase 80 is kind of the leper colony of Starfleet, but it doesn't have to be the end. You can turn things around. Unfortunately, the one problem is it seems like Starfleet has not really paid attention to this. That hey, you've got a bunch of people that you could recycle them and fix things if you just put a minimal amount of effort. Maybe they can do this. So that I think is cool. Once again, it's about Star Trek's message of hope and optimism of the future. And let's face it, folks, we can all use a whole lot of hope and optimism in our future. So, as far as that goes, well, okay, I think we've talked about Starbase 80, and I think we've talked about the feelings of stuff. I think that going into some theories about what we're going to see next, like I said, I've kind of hoped that we would, I don't know if a full-on guest appearance by Patrick Stewart doing Picard's voice on here, even though that would be pretty awesome. I don't know that that's in the cards. I'm still hoping Michael Dorn will show up as Captain Worf, the Enterprise E, and maybe we get some hints of what happened to her, because as he said on Picard, that was not my fault. So we can hope that, for something like that, we've had guest appearances by a lot of Starfleet royalty or Star Trek royalty on this series since it got started a mere 5 seasons ago. We do know we are getting Garrett Wang as Lieutenant Harry Kim, and we're very excited about that. If you've never met Garrett Wang at a con, you gotta. He is Mr. Star Trek in so many ways. He is a wonderful person. One of the highlights of anything is meeting Garrett. And he puts a lot of enthusiasm, as we've seen in his own podcast and other things. Okay, well, at any rate, like I said, I'm not sure what else we've got going on, but as I said, Chris wasn't able to join us this week, but he'll be back next week, as will I. We'll be back on our new usual time, Friday evenings at 6. We hope you'll join us then. In the meantime, I just want to let y'all know we are in the countdown mode for Section 31 in 2025 in January. And our producers are going to hopefully get us set up with some really exciting stuff that I'm really excited about, because I am really looking forward to Section 31. No, sadly, we will not be. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to get Michelle Yao to co-guest host with us. We love that, but we're going to get somebody who I don't want to say who it is just yet because I don't want to jinx it. But it's going to be really awesome. You're going to really like who we're going to get to talk to us about Section 31. And, of course, we also have the next season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds coming our way. And hopefully we're going to have some exciting news about Starfleet Academy, which will be starting later next season. So you're going to want to join us for that. Also, I'm going to see about talking about, getting back with our producer later and talking about some other exciting ideas I have or that Chris might have. And, we're not going anywhere just because, Lower Decks is ending. The Star Trek review show is going to keep boldly going where no review show has gone before. And we hope you're going to stay with us. And, as we get more content. But we're not being canceled. We're not going anywhere just because Lower Decks is ending. We still got, like I said, we still got Strange New Worlds, and we've got Starfleet Academy, and who knows what Paramount's going to come up with once um, we get our act together on all these sales and other things that are going on. But hey, Star Trek's future is, I think it is assured, and I think has in the late 1960s when there was a lot, when America was going through a lot there. Star Trek is a vision of hope and justice for us that we, you know, will look forward to. That'll keep us going through hard times, and you know, we're it's been there for us, good and bad times. So, okay, we'll keep on joining us, folks, and I'm gonna wrap it up now. And I will talk to you guys again next week. And keep on tuning in, keep sending us questions and thoughts and theories. We love to hear from you. So for Chris Pavone, I am Josh Pritchett, head of the Northern Virginia Star Trek Meetup Group. Live long and prosper, everybody. Kapla. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend.